every sunrise arrives with its quiet verdict on the night just past. Yet anxiety may still cling to you like a shadow. Have you felt that uneasy flutter beneath the ribs when the day is barely breathing? In these fragile minutes before full light, the awakening sky blushes along the horizon, calling you to breathe deeper. Soft wind brushes curtains, urging surrender of the restless lists already forming in your mind. The Eternal One, steadfast refuge and faithful guide, stands nearer than heartbeat, offering trust stronger than fear. He invites you to trade frantic planning for calm assurance, to loosen your grasp on outcomes so His wisdom may lead. You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast, because they trust in you. So Isaiah 26:3, this promise anchors dawn, assuring that steady thought dissolves unrest. What burden can you place into His outstretched hands right now? Which hope will you dare to carry as you walk forward encircled by His mercy? Now, as your heart grows still, we step into the coming light. You hear the first sparrow chant beneath a linen, pink sky and sense the worldry, forming itself after the unsteady hours of thought. Night's worries, still warm in your palms, long to dictate the rhythm of this day. Yet the horizon glows with a message more ancient than trouble. Mercy renews with every rotation of the earth. You inhale slowly, letting cool air brush the inside of your chest, and notice how the hush between birdsong and traffic opens a doorway for grace. The Father who spoke galaxies into swirl is equally fluent in the murmurs of your mind. Nothing trembling inside you escapes His notice. So you allow His nearness to gather your scattered feelings, as morning gathers do, until concern loses its sharp edges. The tightening in your shoulders loosens, and warmth seeps into spaces fear once occupied. Is the simple miracle of presence, arriving without fanfare yet shifting the entire inner horizon. You name each pressure quietly. Deadlines, uncertainties, conversations that still sting, and picture them resting at the hem of His robe, where brightness rushes outward like water. Because of the Lord's great love you are not consumed, for His compassions never fail. They are new every morning. See Lamentations 3:10-22. 23. Eternal kindness returns like sunrise, assuring that fatigue is never final. With that truth humming beneath your ribs, you straighten your spine and unclench your brow. You turn toward the window and let dawn's lean beams brush your face, choosing to greet them as gentle heralds rather than reminders of tasks yet unfinished. The earth beneath rooftops is already stirring, delivery bikes humming, school uniforms rustling, but your soul slows, refusing to sprint before receiving direction. In this pause you invite the Spirit to write today's first sentence on your heart, beloved. That identity, whispered through light, unmasks every lie of insufficiency. From belovedness flows poise. From poise springs wise steps. You imagine the path ahead, a meeting, a moment of silence in an elevator, laughter over breakfast, each scene cradled in the same glow now spilling across your hands. Anxiety tries to forecast shadows, yet you let assurance forecast radiance, believing that whatever arises will meet you in the company of the One who owns the hour. You sense possibilities unfolding like unopened buds. Appointments may become encounters, interruptions could turn to blessings, and even weariness might serve as the canvas for gentle strength. Stay here a breath longer. Listen to the low hum of refrigerators, the distant caw of a crow, the small crack in the wall through which white brilliance leaks. Each detail is an invitation to wonder rather than dread. As senses sharpen, gratitude grows, and gratitude is the soft soil where obedience flowers. Within that fertile ground, imagination pictures your life as a field at dawn. Rows of tasks glistening with dew, each droplet reflecting heaven's hue. You are not rushing into obligation, you are waking into communion. Let this realization settle. You begin not from scarcity, but from overflow. For the God of morning has already arrived before you. When your feet finally touch the floor, step lightly, for you carry sunlight inside. You stand at the threshold of the day with memories of unfinished narratives, rustling within like papers caught in a hallway breeze. While dawn washed your cheeks with warmth, deeper knots still coil beneath polite smiles, unpaid invoices, unsettling lab results. The sharp words spoken yesterday, lingering in the hallway of memory. Rather than shoving them behind locked inner doors, you gather each fragment and lift them palm up, letting honesty sting for a breath. The one who discerns thought before its spark does not wince at disorder. He welcomes courageous exposure because it breeds intimacy. As lungs widen, you realize concealment consumes strength, whereas candor births rest. This is the trade the morning offers. Hiding replaced by revelation wrapped in mercy. Picture a river running broad beneath cypress branches. Every worry you name becomes a stone released, breaking the surface with a muted plunk before being pulled beneath by current stronger than regret. You watch the ripples widen and recognize that surrender is not loss, but relocation. From your grip into his dominion, cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. 1 Peter 5:7. His attentive love transforms release into confidence. Every fear finds final address in him. Every sigh becomes safe in his keeping. At that whisper, shoulders unclamp and inner waters hush. Even surroundings respond, kettle whistle softens, neighborhood dogs settle, and a hidden wind chime taps 3 clear notes through the breeze. Creation seems to applaud when you let go. Yet surrender also needs space. You clear a small table, move glowing screens aside, and light a candle. Flame reminds you relinquishing is continual, not a single dramatic flourish. Wax will pool, wick will shorten, and each hour you may lower fresh concerns into unseen hands. You pledge, right now, to repetitive release. Whenever deadlines mass like thunderheads, whenever memory replays old failure, whenever comparison slithers across a scroll. Instead of clenching, you will breathe, name, drop again and again until release becomes reflex as natural as heartbeat. In this practice, obedience matures. What once felt like loss begins to feel like rhythm. The Spirit tunes your inner chords so that every exhale writes music of dependence, and the room around you becomes a quiet chapel where fear has no microphone. You envisage the candle's plume as a relay torch passed from hour to hour, reminding you that vigilance and freedom can coexist. Even mundane actions, washing a dish, typing a proposal, tying a child's shoes, become quiet ceremonies of relinquishment. Finally, you dare to surrender outcomes themselves, whether the email brings affirmation, whether illness retreats, whether plan A or plan B unfolds. You entrust even your definitions of triumph. Freedom follows, lightening your step like boots unlaced after a trek. Interior room widens, ready for guidance yet unseen. serenity glows brighter than candlelight and begins to warm the corridors of imagination. What if today's closed door is simply a redirected trail toward joy? What if disappointment becomes compost from which brighter courage will sprout? Because hands are now empty, they can rise in blessing over everyone you meet, offering the fragrance of peace grown in the garden of honest surrender. You settle into the gentle hush that follows surrender, like a lake smoothing after rain, and discover a rare music in stillness itself. No buzzing alerts intrude. Even your own breath seems to tread softly, respecting the sacred hush. In this delicate calm, you sense the nearness of a shepherd who communicates not by thunder, but by the subtle rearranging of your heartbeat. You choose to linger, allowing silence to stretch wide enough for revelation. Each slow inhale becomes agreement with heaven that rushing is unnecessary. Each exhale releases another secret fear disguised as urgency. In the beginning was a word, yet before it was spoken there was deep quiet, and creation has never forgotten that rhythm. Sound flowering out of serenity, you notice how trust grows strongest when it is quietest, rooted beneath conversation, drawing water where noise cannot reach. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 460:10. This command is more invitation than order, an open gate into country, where certainty dawns without argument. You step through that opening and find the landscape vast, morning air shimmering above dew-lit grass. Here, knowing does not depend on evidence, arranged like courtroom exhibits. Faith is received as effortlessly as light entering a window. You picture fears as birds perched on a wire. Finances, health, relationships. One by one they take flight at the soft clap of divine presence until only blue sky remains. You realize trust is not a fragile crystal to guard, but a wellspring rising within, supplied by one whose faithfulness outlives seasons. You listen deeper still, past ticking clock and faint traffic, until your spirit catches a current of assurance weaving through everything. A low hum beneath the world's clatter. That hum tells the sunflower when to turn, the tide when to return, and it tells you that today is enfolded in wisdom older than stars. You allow that recognition to recalibrate desire. Success shifts from controlling outcomes to cooperating with providence. Plans become sketches drafted in pencil, ready for spirit-guided revisions. Even disappointments feel lighter when you remember they are held in the same hands that guided Joseph from prison to palace, Ruth from grief to lineage, Peter from denial to courage. History itself testifies that quiet trust never ends in shame. You whisper a simple vow, to pause before answering, to breathe before deciding, to invite counsel before stepping. This vow is no rigid code, but a melody you will hum throughout corridors and conversations, reminding you that reliance is relational. The more you rest, the clearer you hear subtle directives. A name to text, a pause before rebuttal, a nudge to give. These small obediences stitch a tapestry stronger than grand resolutions. Evening may arrive with unanswered questions, yet they will rest nearer to solution because you listened at dawn. For now you rise from the chair, heart tuned to an invisible frequency, confident that every footstep will echo with quiet trust grown in silence. You move from stillness into motion, stepping through the modest rituals of morning, pouring water over coffee grounds, buttoning a shirt, locking the door, and realize that every ordinary choice is a junction where promise can steer uncertainty. An unseen hand has already traced pathways through today's maze, yet autonomy remains, inviting partnership rather than resignation. You pause on the doorstep, feeling cool air glide across your face, and ask for the wisdom to notice signposts that often hide in plain sight. The spirit whispers not in grand pronouncements, but in subtle convergences, a sentence that lingers after a podcast, the gentle conviction to slow your tone during a tense briefing, the sudden memory to message a friend whose silence could signal struggle. These nudges thread together like luminous breadcrumbs, leading you toward outcomes richer than your best calculations. The Lord will guide you always. He will satisfy your needs in a sun-scorched land and will strengthen your frame. The Isaiah 50:18 Levendeden, divine direction is neither sporadic nor conditional. It accompanies each breath, turning deserts into oases of resilience. With that assurance echoing, you release the habit of second-guessing, choosing instead to interpret setbacks as redirections. When an elevator stalls or traffic thickens, you resist irritation and wonder which appointment of grace now awaits in the pause. Guidance is seldom linear. It meanders like a river negotiating stone, yet it never forgets its destination. You trust that every bend conceals a wider view. Every delay hides a hidden mercy, while you navigate meetings flushed with competing opinions. You listen beneath words for the current of peace that signals alignment. Sometimes assurance arrives as internal quiet when you voice an unpopular but necessary truth. Other times it comes through external confirmation. A colleague's unexpected agreement, a door opening just as discouragement sets in. You recognize these moments as coordinates on heaven's map, and gratitude rises like incense, sharpening your perception for the next waypoint. Doubt still attempts ambush, muttering what-ifs about finances and health, but you counter with declaration. Your guidance has never failed my yesterdays, it will not falter now. Memory becomes ally, reciting previous rescues until fear retreats. Evening's horizon remains unseen, yet you relinquish the craving to preview every scene. Instead, you resolve to walk by the next revealed line of light, confident that the one who choreographs galaxies will not misplace a single hour of your story. Thus you stride into corridors and crosswalks, bearing a posture of patient attentiveness. People sense steadiness in your cadence, and questions arise. How do you stay calm? Offering you chances to share the wellspring of assurance. By day's close, you will trace today's route on the inside of your eyelids and marvel at the artistry of invisible guidance. Conversations you could not have planned, detours that spared you unseen harm, ideas birthed in quiet moments that later unfolded into breakthrough. And you will rest knowing tomorrow's map is already sketched in loving detail. You reach midday's pivot, where tasks intersect like busy streets. Yet an inner stillness now beckons you to step aside from the swirl and drink from a quieter stream. You pause beneath a spreading plane tree, or perhaps only beneath your office's soft, fluorescent glow, and shut your eyes long enough to sense a presence thicker than noise. Like cool water descending a parched throat, serenity seeps into marrow, steadying pulse and thought alike. This peace is not the fragile hush of circumstances aligning. It is a deeper current untouched by traffic jams, client emails, or headlines ringing alarm. It rises from the throne of the One who calls himself the Prince of Wholeness, whose reign begins where surrender and trust have already cleared the ground. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body you were called to peace. Colossians 3:15. His peace is an active governor, guiding decisions, tempering reactions, and silencing inner storms with royal authority. You picture it as a gentle yet unbreakable canopy stretched over your spirit, intercepting arrows of comparison, envy, and self-doubt before they pierce. Each anxious notion thuds harmlessly against that invisible shield and falls silent. You breathe gratitude for this unseen armor, acknowledging that its strength lies not in your vigilance, but in His continual vigilance over you. In that awareness, you invite calm to infiltrate your surroundings. Fingers soften on keyboard, voice lowers during debate, footsteps slow in the corridor. Those near you feel the atmosphere shift. A colleague's brow unknots. A child's question receives unhurried attention. Even the family dog reclines without pacing. Peace multiplies by presence rather than proclamation. No banner announces it, yet its effect is unmistakable. You learn that composure is contagious. When your soul rests, ripple lines carry rest outward, and rooms become safe harbors amid enterprise. But deep tranquility also speaks inwardly, addressing wounds you seldom expose. The silent grief over dreams deferred, the ache of relationships strained, the regret that surfaces in sleepless hours. Here the comforter acts as a knight, nurse dressing hidden bruises with gentleness beyond language. You allow him to press healing salve into memories that once sparked shame, and to breathe courage over hopes you shelved in cynicism's attic. Soon, what once throbbed now pulses with quiet expectancy, like earth after soft rain preparing to yield flower. Finally, you practice abiding, choosing to revisit this calm through micro pauses, 3 measured breaths before sending a message, a whispered prayer while water pours for tea, a glance at sky between towering buildings. Each return is a reunion with the source, ensuring the reservoir remains full even as you pour into others. By evening, when twilight paints rooftops rose and indigo, you will marvel that fatigue cannot erode the wellspring within. For now, carry deep peace as both shelter and compass, letting it steer words, pace, and posture until night folds gently around you. You step beyond familiar thresholds and feel the city pulse underfoot. Motors rumble, doors slam, voices rise. But inside your chest, quiet order holds steady. The peace cultivated at dawn now outfits you like invisible armor, steadying stride and gaze alike. You sense how each intersection becomes a crossroads of influence. A gesture can thaw tension. A word can redirect despair, and your calm presence carries greater weight than any scripted argument. Courage, you realize, is not brash force. It is serenity that keeps pace while turmoil sprints. With shoulders squared and spirit aligned, you regard the day's uncertainties as unexplored terrain rather than hostile ground, and possibility flickers in every shadow. You enter meetings, classrooms, markets, wherever your path leads, and carry the fragrance of mercy into conversations that might otherwise soar. When criticism pricks, you neither retreat nor retaliate. Instead, you listen past sting to uncover genuine need beneath harsh tone. This posture disarms conflict, inviting collaboration where rivalry once ruled. Colleagues notice the steadiness in your answers. Children recognize patience in your sigh. And strangers receive kindness without payment. Your walk becomes sermon without volume, illustrating the kingdom that grows quietly like yeast until the whole loaf rises. Mid-afternoon challenges appear. Unexpected expenses. Technical glitches, delayed flights. Yet your heart retrieves assurance stored earlier. You breathe, recall the river of surrender, the meadow of trust, the canopy of deep calm, and you draw on those memories like wells scattered across desert landscape. Resourcefulness flows from reliance, solutions surface. Creative ideas ring clear, and endurance strengthens when tasks stretch longer than planned. Even fatigue finds redemption, teaching gentler rhythms rather than fueling resentment. You understand now that resilience is not merely surviving shocks, but transforming them into stepping stones. As dusk edges the horizon, you notice your reflection in darkened glass. Features bear the soft lines of compassion, eyes glimmer with quiet fire. The journey has not removed vulnerability. Instead, it has fused fragility with purpose, producing bravery that knows its source. You whisper gratitude for every unseen intervention, every whisper that redirected haste, every spark of delight that skipped across common hours. Night will arrive, but it will meet a traveler whose spirit stays luminous, guided by compass points set at sunrise. Tomorrow, light will widen again, and you will answer its invitation with the same fearless calm, walking roads already blessed by Him who goes before you. Take one final breath before the day accelerates. Recall the exchange you have made: anxiety for assurance, restlessness for steadfast calm. Picture yourself standing at a shoreline where waves carry away yesterday's unease, returning only polished stones of wisdom. Name one courageous act you will attempt, perhaps forgiving a slight, voicing hope, or beginning a difficult project. Feel the quiet certainty within that you never act alone. Divine presence accompanies every heartbeat. Hold that assurance like a candle sheltered from wind, letting its glow direct your next step. Silence now, let peace settle deeper.